In this role, Samantha oversees donor relations, programming, focusing on expressing gratitude, recognizing donors, and sharing impact. Samantha joined Kent State University in 2014 and holds a Bachelor of Arts in Communication Arts from Allegheny College and a Master of Public Administration from Kent State. Next, we have Marion Drank, who is currently the interim vice president for advancement at Walsh Jesuit High School, where she oversees fundraising, alumni engagement, marketing and communications, and donor relations. In this role, she leads all fundraising efforts while providing leadership in cultivating relationships with donors. Marion is responsible for designing and implementing comprehensive advancement programs that advance the school's mission. In her past role, she created a custom stewardship program to engage donors and increase donor retention as the stewardship and database manager. Alicia Gaffney is the Director of Principal Gifts and Volunteer Engagement for the Division of Philanthropy and Alumni Engagement. In this role, she leads the Principal Gifts Working Group and provides leadership and execution of custom donor relation initiatives and liaison with the National Alumni Board of Directors regarding board recruitment and onboarding. She began at Kent State with intercollegiate athletics in 2002 and holds a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from Ashland University and a Master of Arts in Sports Administration from Kent State University. Thank you again for joining us, and I'll turn it over to them now.
Thank you, Doreen. Appreciate the introduction. So just wanted to give you a little bit of a roadmap, what today's presentation is going to look like. We hope to share some ideas, best practices, and some special ways you can steward your donors. Stewardship is where we turn one-time donors into our lifelong supporters. We always want to keep in mind the rule of 7. Experts actually recommend connecting with a donor 7 times to share appreciation and impact between your asks. In our experience, having a donor-centered mindset or looping your donor relations colleagues into conversations boosts retention and can aid cultivation efforts. Our approach for today's conversation is to look at 4 areas of donor relations. The first one being saying the thank you, caring for the funds, sharing the impact, and then strengthening the connection. For each of these topics, we'll briefly highlight a few best practices, share some real-life examples that hopefully serve as thought starters for your work, and then we'd like to open up to questions or even hear some of your ideas. We want to take advantage of the opportunity to learn from all, so please don't be shy. We will finish off our discussion by sharing some resources that we use in our everyday work. So let's start out with saying the thank you. Sam Zink, who's from Kent State, is going to lead us off here.
Thanks, Marion. So the first area we're going to talk about today is saying thank you, and that's because acknowledging a donor's gift really sets the standard for the future of the relationship between the donor and the organization. And so there's a lot of best practices when it comes to saying thank you, but from a timeline perspective, there are 2 big ones that really stand out and 2 that we really try to focus on at Kent State. The first is that tax receipts should be sent within 72 hours or 3 business days of receiving the gift. But remember, the tax receipt is different from an acknowledgement letter. The second best practice is that thank you letters should be mailed within 1 week, so 5 to 7 business days of the gift date. Now, at Kent State, we actually aim for 2 weeks for our gift acknowledgement letters. We have a comprehensive acknowledgement program where we partner with colleges and campuses across the university to ensure that donors receive their thank you letters from the areas actually being impacted by the gift. So naturally, this takes a little bit longer. There's a lot of people involved, but we've gotten it down to about 2 weeks. So from a content perspective, then, we really want to make sure when we're writing thank you notes that we're always putting the donor first. And I recently attended a networking session at Allegheny College where Debbie Myers, a founding board member of the Association of Donor Relations Professionals, ADRP, she shared a quote that I thought was really spot on, and it's on the slide here. It says, "Never write for anyone, write for someone." And this really resonated with me as someone who works really hard to make sure we're always putting the donor first, always using that donor-centered language when we're saying thank you. So when it comes to actually writing these thoughtful, these personal thank you letters, we at Kent State try to focus on these 7 tips that are rooted in best practices. So the first thing that we do is we try to remember that it's not about us. We center the message on the donor and the difference that they're making through their generosity. Donors give through our organizations, not to them. The second tip is to personalize your letter. So take a minute to review your donor database. The more you know about the donor, the more personal and meaningful your thank you note will be. The third tip is to be authentic and sincere. Formal writing can be really boring. I'm sure we've all read textbooks. That kind of writing really makes things less personal and less meaningful. So when you're writing these, really write from the heart. Another tip is to value clarity and brevity. So you want to keep things short. You want to make sure that what you're writing translates across all levels of reading. Tip number 5 is to remember to tell the donor what we did with their money. So doing this demonstrates that we've been good stewards of their gift and we're actually using their money as they intended. This increases donor trust, but it also helps us connect donors with the positive change that they're making at our organizations. Number 6 is don't include dollar amounts. If you're really trying to say thank you to a donor, you really want to leave those out. That's what the tax receipt is for. And in 2021, Kent State actually made the decision to remove gift amounts from our acknowledgement letters. So that's what we've been aiming for. That tax receipt is completely separate now, and that's where that dollar and money information is listed. And number 7, try to say thank you without using the words thank you. At Kent State, we developed a stewardship word bank that we frequent when we write our gift acknowledgement letters. And I think this has really helped us be more creative in our communications. So acknowledgement letters aren't the only way to say thank you. At Kent State, we've developed some creative thank you touches that I'd like to share. So this first example focuses on a behavior-based thank you touch. Research tells us that it's more costly to obtain a new donor than it is to keep one your organization already has. We know that the longer a donor stays with an organization, the more generous they become, and loyal donors really grow with the organization. So with this in mind, in 2023, we launched a first-time donor welcome kit in collaboration with our annual giving team. The welcome kit is sent to first-time donors each month who've made a contribution less than $25,000. That's our major gift threshold, and there's a couple of other special touches that happen at that level. The welcome packet includes a thank you note from the president and an insert that features some impact stories and some student quotes from people who are actually benefiting from philanthropy at Kent State. First-time donors also receive a thank you call from students in our engagement center. We also have some examples to share that are kind of out-of-the-box calendar-related touches. Alicia and I really like to use the National Calendar Day tool, which we've actually linked on the resources slide at the end of this deck. So the first example up there on the left is our World Gratitude Day communication that goes out to donors on September 21st. It's sent to current donors, planned giving donors, and permanent stewardship donors. And we're really lucky in our department that we work with the people who manage our university's Student Ambassadors program. So that's the group of students we use to help craft this annual message. In 2022, we sent a video to donors using the ThankView platform. That's our personalized video thanking platform. The message was from the current president of Kent Student Ambassadors, and the video featured 4 fellow student ambassadors who shared what they were grateful for as it related to their Kent State experience. In 2023, we sent out a similar communication, but we changed the vehicle. We actually did an email and a text message, but we segmented donors into 2 groups. We actually did a general donor group and then an athletics only group. So the general group received the message from the Kent Student Ambassadors, and the athletics donors received their message from the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. The next example is probably my favorite. It's World Poetry Day, which happens on March 21st. And this communication came about because in 2022, we identified a gap in spring stewardship for planned giving donors, permanent stewardship donors, and actually some of our volunteer board members. So we decided to create a thank you piece in the spring for these groups in partnership with our university's Wick Poetry Center. So this communication features a thank you message and a custom poem that celebrates these groups of donors. The poem is always authored by a student poet, and the design was actually created by a student designer. So it makes it really special, really meaningful. So now Marion's going to share some examples of some of the ways that Walsh Jesuit says thank you to donors.
Sure. So we also like to use the calendar to reach out to some of our donors. One of the ways we do it is on February 14th for Valentine's Day. We call it the Show the Love Day. So it's a way that it's a campaign where we are constantly showing our donors love. So we do that through videos. We use Animoto to create videos. We're a small shop, so it's really easy and it's cost friendly. But we have students in the videos, faculty, staff, even our president, and we send a message to our donors just to show gratitude. In addition, we have donuts and treats and just a breakfast treat for our faculty and staff who donate back to Walsh Jesuit. So we send them an invitation and just ask them to join us, and it's just showing gratitude. I think gratitude is the word that we use around here a lot when we're wanting to show appreciation for all of our donors. In addition, we give a heart-shaped cookie with a "You Are the Heart of WJ" sticker to all of our employees. So, and then the last thing that we do on that day is our students, we bring them in and we have a thankathon. So they just reach out, call our donors and thank them for their gift. It's simple, it's easy, and our donors love to hear from our students. So it's a great way to show gratitude. Also, we love personalized notes from the leadership of the organization, but also from our students. So it's an easy, meaningful way. I have a postcard here that a student wrote. That's for our annual giving day. We actually have every single person who gives on that day receives a personalized note. We also have a personalized note for our annual fund that a student will sign. So these are just messages that we want our donors to receive. So like Samantha said, it's not just the receipt and not just the thank you note, but what are other ways we can show gratitude and a simple thank you without saying those words. In addition, we have our student sponsors every Thanksgiving. So this has a little bit of Thanksgiving theme to it. Our students who are sponsored, they will write a letter to their sponsors, a personal note of thanks, and they do hand sign this. This is a copy of it, and we send that to the donor. They love seeing what's the student up to. I do have to guide them a little bit with that communication. I give a framework. I ask them to write 3 really good paragraphs, the one saying what they're doing, what they're up to, but it's been a great way to engage our donors and show gratitude. So I think at this time, we thought we would take a moment to pause for any questions or allow our group to share some ideas that you might have. So do we have any questions from the group? Anybody raising? Nope. Okay. Well, I think we can. Does anybody have any interesting ideas that they do in their shop for stewardship that they would like to share when it comes to gratitude?
I'm driving, Marion. This is Sue Figler. Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Okay. So I like the fact that you guys use the calendar. We're lucky at the train. We have some unique days that probably maybe others can't, like National Train Day. I'm sure you all know National Train Day is May 10th, or the closest Saturday, but we're having like our members behind the scenes event this Saturday, so close to that. So I like finding those unique ways. We have more opportunity to do that. We really have to take more advantage of that, but it's nice to hear that we're all kind of doing the same thing in our unique way. So thanks for sharing that, guys.
I love that. Any other thoughts? Okay, we'll go back to the presentation. So everybody can see the presentation. We're back at it. So a little bit to a drier area, we wanted to point out some of the resources out there, important documents coming from AFP, Association of Fundraising Professionals. The first one being our Donor Bill of Rights, and then the second is our Code of Ethical Standards. And these we should become very familiar with. These are the best practices and the standards that are relevant in today's discussion. I wanted to point out a few things. In the Donor Bill of Rights specifically, one of the things in there is allowing our donor to be informed of the organization's mission and how that organization intends to use those funds. And then also that they're assured the gift will be used as their intended purpose. So if somebody is making a donation to a specific part of your organization, just making sure that those funds are used in that area. And then we've already talked about the other pieces, receiving appropriate acknowledgement and recognition within a good time frame, that 72-hour time frame that we want to make sure we're following some of these best practices. And then when we look at the Code of Ethics, the other document, that's ensuring materials are accurately reflecting the mission of our organization and how we're going to use those funds, but also ensuring our contributions are being used in the accordance with the donor's intent. And then lastly, I think another important piece here for today's discussion is ensuring proper stewardship and that we are reporting timely on the use and the management of those funds. So speaking of reporting on those funds, Alicia has some interesting things to share about sharing the impact.
Thanks, Marion. I'm going to paraphrase Penelope Burke just to sort of set the stage for what I'm going to talk about in the quotes on the slide. But what she says is 93% of donors would definitely or probably give again if the charity thanked them promptly in a personal way and followed up later with a meaningful report on their gifts. So let's briefly talk about impact sharing. We all know good impact sharing is not possible without solid acknowledgement and fund stewardship, which Marion and Sam touched on earlier. They form the foundation for this next layer of donor relations. So I just want to go over just a couple of things that we consider at Kent State to share impact in a meaningful way, the key word being meaningful. We strive to use donor-centered language. I think you're starting to see themes, right? And the same thank you, sharing impact. Being donor-centered for us means we use you language, Y-O-U. We also try to remind ourselves that the objective is to share the impact of their gift and resist the urge to share our organization's brag points. Number two, we always try to weave in compelling and ethical storytelling so the donor is touched and feels the impact. The goal is to give them those warm and fuzzy moments, right? To say, I'm making a difference. And we feel the key to showing how the gift has made a difference is sharing expressions of gratitude from the beneficiary. In our case, that's primarily our students, but it can be the elderly, children, patients, animals, etc., whatever relates to your organization. And the ethical piece of storytelling considers how we tell the story and how the beneficiary is involved in the process. Early on in the process, we consider how we will meet the donor audience where they are. So there are many ways to share impact beyond the traditional written hard copy report. We're going to show some examples, but there are digital reports, videos, emails, text messages, phone calls, social posts, photo gallery, or book. I think you get the idea. There's lots of ways to share that are quick and easy. Also, we try to keep in mind that most people consume information on their phones. And I think the last stat I read is that the average adult's attention span is around 8 seconds. So keeping that in mind, we do share a lot of impact through the digital world. So we try to blend text with other multimedia components. And finally, impact sharing doesn't have to consume a lot of resources, as in staff and money. This is where we get creative, right? We're continuing to do more with less. I think we all on this call can relate to that. And we're always looking for new technologies to help us share impact. And also, we're looking for opportunities to repurpose content. At Kent State, we call this CORE, create once, recycle everywhere. People probably get annoyed by me because I say, hey, is there a core opportunity every time we're talking about a project? So an example of this in our shop are called impact alerts. Our marketing and communications team, that's our university marketing and communications team, as well as our divisions comms team, they develop so many stories a week, and many of them highlight students. So we read these articles, which we're already doing, but we look to see if the student is a scholarship recipient. And if they are, we share the story with the donor via email or text and simply frame it as sharing the impact of your scholarship, right? The content's already created for us. This is an organic opportunity for me to reach out to the donor and say, look what your scholarship is doing and look at the great things the student is achieving. So this is a great example of a low effort but high impact touch in our world. I just want to take a couple moments to share different ways we've shared impact. So in the digital space, we've used email, WordPress, Adobe Express, which was formerly known as Adobe Spark, ThankView, and Kudo Board. On the left of this slide, you'll see a sample WordPress site that shares the impact of a gift that endowed a faculty position. So how the donor would interact with this is just scrolling down and interacting with the various videos or links to maybe the faculty's research, things of that nature. And on the right is an email campaign we use to steward our KSU scholarship donors. That's our general scholarship fund. As you can see, both are examples of expressing gratitude and impact from the beneficiary's viewpoint. And they're also a combination of text and visual elements. When evaluating digital tools using this low effort but high impact lens, I believe ThankView and Kudo Board really shine. I think Sam would agree as well. On the left is an example of ThankView for a scholarship donor. We use ThankView and its sister company Otter in many ways. For example, birthdays, scholarship donor stewardship, capital project donor stewardship, which I'll show you an example later, end of year letters, annual endowment reports, and truly the list goes on and on. I know Sam mentioned this earlier, but if you're not familiar with ThankView, it's a personal video message platform that's a one-stop shop. It allows you to collect the video, create the content, and package the message in a few clicks. On the right is an example of a Kudo board. I like to say it's like a digital card on steroids because you can record a video, add a picture, or simply write a message, and it's an easy way to share gratitude and impact from many people and programs. It's also very cost effective. One board costs the same as a greeting card, $6 to $9, and they offer business plans if that fits your needs. I think Renee is on this call, and she's part of our foundation relations team, and their team is beginning to use this tool to gather gratitude and impact stories from faculty PIs. And in turn, the donor foundation is able to easily share it with their trustees or board members. So it's just ease of share with this tool is great. Although it's not impact sharing, I do want to mention we've also used Kudo Board to send get well wishes, express condolences, and celebrate birthdays. It's a pretty versatile tool. We use it especially with our boards. We have a 40-person foundation board. If someone is celebrating a milestone or if someone has experienced a lot loss, this allows us to send a link out for all of those members to share their condolences in the way that they feel is appropriate with that board member. Because you just can't pass a card across states. And then finally, here's some examples of hard copy reports, just to give you a sense of and some ideas. Compared to our digital options, these require a lot more resources, but I work in the principal gift space, so these are a great tool when stewarding our most generous benefactors. As you can see, they're customized to the individual. And it's worth noting, we utilize surveys to get content and images from beneficiaries for many of these reports, which saves a lot of time. We've used Google Forms, and we also have used Qualtrics in our shop. The report on the left was developed to celebrate the philanthropy of a family who was in the publishing business. And no, their faces are not, they're not wearing masks. We put that over their face for anonymity. We presented their impact stories in a newspaper format, and a stack of these reports tied in twine was delivered to the donor couple's doorstep. This touch was very well received. On the far right are examples of pages from a photo book. Our photo books primarily use imagery to tell the story, but are sprinkled with gratitude quotes from the beneficiaries. We've used these to celebrate milestones related to endowed speaker series, scholarships, gradversaries, building dedications, just to name a few. And we found that they're a great option when you have a lot of photos or newspaper clippings, but don't necessarily have the time to invest in copywriting. Also, they're easy to develop in apps like Shutterfly. They're easy to mail, and they are often displayed by the donor in their home or office as a point of pride, which is pretty cool. And it's worth mentioning that not all our photo books are hard copy. Our comms team utilizes Issue, which I think Marianne uses at Welsh Jesuit as well. They use this to develop different digital books. So we use that tool to develop digital photo books, and it's also a very affordable option. This is an example of an annual impact report that we shared with a trust officer of a scholarship that was funded through a bequest. So now I'm going to pass the baton to Marion, who has a couple Welsh Jesuit examples to share.
Sure, thank you. We look to share what we call our profiles of gratitude, which are stories of impact from our teachers and our students. Our teachers are benefactors of the philanthropy of our donors, and we'd like to post these in our annual gratitude report, which we use Issue as our flip book, but we also post them throughout social media. We kind of do the same thing where other departments can use this as well. Our gratitude report is a great way to share your donors and the good work that they're doing and how they help your organization accomplish the goals. It is important to be donor-centric throughout your gratitude report or your annual report, president's report. Every organization maybe calls it something different, but using you throughout your communications is so important. And even reviewing those materials through a donor-centric lens. Sometimes I'll even go through and count how often we've used you in our communications and in our gratitude reports. Not only are we highlighting our students, but sometimes we'll actually highlight our donors and have our donor stories in there as well. So infographics can be used as a creative and easy format to share facts and figures. You know, Alicia mentioned that our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. And so having a quick snapshot of what their impact is. So, here we have what is the impact beginning with the Warrior Fund, so they can quickly see where their money is supporting the school. We can share here accomplishments and celebrations made possible because of our donors and the work of all volunteers. We don't want to forget our volunteers. So here we actually share a timeline for the past year, and we can kind of highlight some of the great things that happened throughout the year with our students, with our donors, some of our fundraising accomplishments throughout. So as we move on, we wanted to see if there are any questions that you might have, any discussion points, any thoughts, creative ways that you show the impact in your organization. Okay, we'll go back to sharing.
Oh, it looks like Katie has her hand up. What's up, Katie?
Okay.
Hello. I wanted to inquire about how you may engage, create the opportunity for donors to interact with their student recipients in a personal way.
So I can address that, and then we can, from Welsh Jesuit, we actually have our students, I meet with all of our incoming freshmen who have a sponsor every fall, and we talk a little bit about their sponsor and the importance of showing gratitude. And so then we spend the entire year where they're hearing from their sponsor, but the sponsor's hearing from them. So the first step is at Thanksgiving, they write their sponsor a letter. But every spring, we actually have a lunch with our sponsor. Our program is manageable and small enough that we actually do breakfast and lunch, one or the other, with the sponsor. It's an intimate one-on-one. We're fortunate enough to be able to do that, but our sponsors get so much satisfaction out of it that it's very easy that when we're done with the they are very easily asking for another student. When can I get another student? Because they're getting to see this little freshman come in who is kind of wide-eyed, quiet, meek. They don't really have a lot to say. And then by senior year, they are this mature young adult getting ready to, enter the world. And we're having conversations about colleges and work and their future, where it's really fun to watch them see their student grow. So we do try to keep that connection throughout the entire year.
And
Thank you.
we are actually going to talk a little bit about our Donor Scholar Connections program here in the next section, Katie, but I think I can share another example now, one that you might be familiar with. But at Kent State, we have a program called Gratitude, GRAD, and it is a special email that we send out 3 times per year to scholarship donors with graduating seniors. We partner with university ceremonies to do this. And so like the Monday before graduation, this just happened last week, we send a message to every donor who had a graduating scholar. We let them know their name, which scholarship they received, and we invite them to send a congratulatory message to their student. And then we collect all of those messages and we send those to students. And this year was actually the first time that not only did we get a record number of messages for graduates, but we've also had several students reply to the message that we sent them from their donor to thank them and even kind of add a little bit more for us to share with the donor again. So that's kind of been maybe not in person, but still a really nice way to get donors to engage with us so we can still kind of connect those thoughtful messages to the students. So that's been really special and probably one of my favorite programs.
Wonderful. I forget, when did that start?
During the pandemic, actually.
Okay.
We it was virtual that year, and we actually used to invite donors to tune into virtual graduation, and we would send them the link to watch the ceremonies. Naturally, since everything's back in person now at Kent, there's like 4 different graduation ceremonies, so it's pretty complex to make sure donors know when and where they're tuning in. So we've simplified it to just that congratulatory message, and it's still been really successful and meaningful to the donors.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So after the next session, we'll go ahead and answer questions again. So feel free to drop something in the chat. We'll go back and look at that after the next section that we review. Talking about strengthening the connections. Sam?
Yeah. So at Kent State, we really aim to strengthen our connection with donors by providing them with information, access, and experiences. We want them to feel connected to the people and to the programs that they're impacting through their philanthropy. So these 3 buckets, this information, experiences, and access, actually come from Penelope Burke, who Alicia mentioned previously. She does an annual donor survey where she's asked donors, what do they want? And it's been these 3 things: information, access, and experiences. So by information, we're talking about how donors want insider knowledge before they read about it in the news. They want to be treated as true partners in the work we're doing through our organizations. When we think about experiences, it's us giving donors things that money simply can't buy: a tour of a facility, a special tour of campus, or access to something that they wouldn't necessarily be able to participate in without their relationship with the university. And so along those same lines with access, we're talking about giving donors access to maybe leadership at your organization, but most importantly to those who are benefiting from their generosity. And Marian touched on that a lot when she was talking about what Walsh does to connect donors with students. So first, Alicia and I are going to share some examples of the types of information, experiences, and access we provide to Kent State donors. And Alicia's going to kick us off with information.
Thanks, Sam. The example we chose to highlight the importance of strengthening connection through information is our Crawford Hall construction update thank you campaign, which you see 2 snapshots of those on the screen. This fall, we'll host the grand opening celebration for our business college's new home, Crawford Hall. The first gift to this capital project was secured nearly 10 years ago, which is unbelievable. And the challenge we faced was keeping these donors engaged during a 2-year build process. So ThankView has made it easy for us to collaborate with the business college dean to deliver insider information to donors and board members through quarterly videos from the construction site. As a side note, these are really fun, and I think it's really great how the dean has interacted. The last video involved Flash coming out because the grand opening is going to be over homecoming. I mean, she's been on site with a hard hat. So just really cool capabilities, and all of it's just filmed on a phone, and it's very organic. So over 250 people receive these updates, and it has a 75% open rate and 43% click-through rate, which demonstrated to us that this type of communication resonates with our donor audience. Experience and access go hand in hand. And at Kent State, we try to structure our experiences so the donor can be exposed to their impact in action. Also, we try to consider opportunities to engage the donor before, during, and after the experience. We're always encouraging our philanthropic advisors, and that's what we call our fundraisers, to think about something like a campus tour holistically. What can you do before, during, and after it that make it extra special, but don't necessarily cost money? So a couple examples would be, you can make it special by incorporating a beneficiary to ride along or walk along with you. You can try to take a photo, or you can listen to the donor and try to take a photo in a meaningful location to them. And then you have this to send to them afterwards with a really sincere note as a follow-up. And if it's possible, we have a large campus, and I know everybody has different facilities, but on this campus, we have lots of digital screens. And if it's possible, just having a digital screen, maybe in a tour stop that you know that you're going to stop at this place, say welcome to the donor. I mean, what a nice surprise and delight moment. So just little things like that to think about the whole experience. Our hands-on experiences range from being a guest coach for a game, to preparing a meal in our design innovation kitchen, to flying a plane using a flight simulator. We have a nice flight program at Kent State. And behind the scenes experiences can be anything from meeting the cast of a musical production or touring backstage, to taking a hard hat tour of a capital project site, or attending a closed rehearsal or practice. So now Sam's going to share a little bit about that access pillar of strengthening the connection.
Thanks, Alicia. So one of the ways we provide access to donors is through our Donor Scholar Event Connections program. And so Katie, I think this will be helpful, and it's very similar to what Marian has shared. But this program, our Donor Scholar Event Connections, are a partnership with our events team. I also want to take a moment to let everyone know that these students and donors are not wearing a flash mask, similar to one of the slides Alicia did. I just took a headshot of Flash and covered up some of our donor and student faces. So just wanted to make sure we're not crazy over here. So over the years, we found that meeting during an event instead of a one-on-one really takes some of the pressure off of the student. And it's also been a more efficient use of our resources and our time. So as part of this program, our team reviews weekly event RSVPs to look for connection opportunities. And if a scholar is available to meet with a donor during a division-hosted event, our team informs the donor's assigned philanthropic advisor. We handle all logistics prior to the event, but we rely on the philanthropic advisor to facilitate the interaction of the donor and the scholar during the event. These pictures are just a few examples of some of the connections that we've been able to make this past year. They've taken place at our donor recognition gala, at our luncheon for plan giving donors, and at dedication events on campus. Now, to round out strengthening the connection, we can't talk about strengthening our connection with donors without talking about donor gifts. And this can be a pretty controversial topic, but many donor relations professionals agree that giving prospects and donors tchotchkes is outside of industry best practices. If we want to give a donor a thoughtful gift, it needs to be something that's meaningful to them. So at Kent State, when we brainstorm donor gifts, we really try to focus on celebrating milestones and showcasing beneficiary talents. So we really try to capitalize on milestones if we're giving a gift. Is there a giving anniversary coming up? The first gift, a transformational gift, a building dedication? Is the donor or donor couple celebrating a big birthday or wedding anniversary? And do they want that wedding anniversary or birthday to be celebrated? And so then when we're thinking about actual gifts, we try to showcase our beneficiary talents. So we do presidential birthday and New Year's cards at Kent State from the president, and those cards are designed by Kent State students, and the cards actually note that the students designed them. So that's a really special touch. It's something they can't get anywhere else, right? This is a Kent State student designing this especially for them. We also have a glass club on campus that we worked with to design custom flower vases for anniversaries and birthdays. You might see that blue vase kind of in the top left. That was a project that Alicia worked on for a donor couple that was celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary, which is the sapphire anniversary. So we worked with the Glass Club to develop a special one-of-a-kind vase that we actually put flowers in. And I believe the philanthropic advisor personally delivered the flowers to the donor couple at their house. We've also worked with our fashion design students to create custom printed scarves and pocket squares in our textile lab. We are lucky to have a KSU Foundry on campus, so they've worked with us to cast our endowed positions medallions. But we've also worked with some outside vendors, such as personalwine.com, to create a custom custom wine label. So there's another picture of two flashes on a champagne bottle on this slide. And so with personalwine.com, you can create that custom label and put a picture on it and a message, and that can get delivered to the donors. We've also done custom t-shirts for donors who met on campus. The photo in the bottom right is of a couple who met at Kent State and have been together since 1980. So they have shirts that they can wear at homecoming weekend or whenever they want that says together since 1980. So these are just a few examples of the ways that we really try to showcase our students' talents in the gifts that we give. And so Marion's going to talk now a little bit about what Walsh does.
Sure. So at Walsh Jesuit, we showcase our students' talents as well. 2 years ago, we opened a new design and innovation center, and this opened up a world of opportunities when it came to showing our gratitude. Our students now design, create, and personalize gifts for our donors. Previously, we were gift adverse. We probably surrounded all of our gifts with a note. We actually one year at Christmas made cookies. Our department got together and we made Christmas cookies and hand delivered those to our donors. But this has allowed us with the Design Innovation Center to really become more creative. We can even add nicknames, grad years, or quotes to water bottles and wine glasses. So the water bottle, the Yeti there, that was actually engraved in our Design and Innovation Center by a student, and on the back side it does have a name on there. But if there's an athlete who happened to, when he was here, have a nickname, we'll put that on there. But these are meaningful ways that we can showcase not only our students' talents, but also highlight their new skills that they've gained through the Design and Innovation Center. So the support of our donors makes the Design and Innovation Center possible, and then they're able to receive a gift that was made by those students. On the top right, you can see that's our cross and crown, which is atop of our chapel. It's a very meaningful spot here on campus. And the students actually designed those pieces. It's a puzzle that our donor can put together that creates a 3D puzzle. They design it, they cut it out in the machine, and it was packaged together with a handwritten note from the student who actually made that gift. So it's a very personal gift. I didn't have a picture of this, but we actually had a student who created a cross with Jesus on it made out of Legos. So it was a meaningful gift from that student to their sponsor. And I know that sponsor cherishes that very personal gift that that student made. And you can get creative in your own shop when it comes to things like that. There's organizations out there that create custom Lego sets. So if you're, I'm just going to, Sue, you were talking about the Scenic Valley Railroad, but is there a spot or is there a train that you could create a custom Lego set and send that to some of your donors? But just coming up with some creative ideas there. We would really love at this point to hear some of your ideas for different ways that you have shown gratitude in your shops when it comes to maybe there's some celebrating of milestones or gift giving. So we're going to pause for just a moment here to hear some of your ideas. Oh, Sue stepped away, which is fun because I just mentioned her, so that's exciting. But this is where we want to take a few minutes, maybe answer some questions that you might have because we're coming to the end of our program. The last slide I have here are our resources that we wanted to share with you. All of the areas that we kind of brought up and mentioned, we're going to be able to recap on that slide at the end, and we'll share the whole deck with all of our attendees after the program. But this is your chance to kind of share and highlight what you're doing.
All right, let me throw this out there because I'm always someone that likes quick wins. Has anybody done anything in the last year that was very easy to execute that you thought was pretty low effort, high impact? I'm always interested in those ideas.
I think using our cell phones nowadays really helps us to make a huge impact without much effort. The quality of our cell phone to make a video, just I can walk into our president's office and say, hey, can I get a quick video for this donor? And we can throw that thank you out there or a personal message or something silly as well that we can pull together. Last year at the end of our Valentine's video, um, we saved like the outtake and actually used that. And so it actually made the video warm and fuzzy, having a little bit of an outtake in it.
We try on a monthly basis to share, it's like a donor relations ideas calendar invite with our philanthropic advisors, our fundraisers, just to give them some out of the box ideas. And it's amazing. I feel like they're always looking for organic ways to reach out to a donor, especially a donor that might not be typically responsive. And we've gotten great feedback from it. There's a National Selfie Day, so we made the suggestion, go to the namespace, right? It's the John Smith namespace, take a picture in front of their sign and say, hey, National Selfie Day, I've got the best location on campus. Little things like that, right? It took them 5 minutes to do, and sometimes they do get a response from that. We also have, I think there was a library shelfie day, so it's the same thing. for, with your favorite book or author, something like that. And if that relates to philanthropy on our campus, that would be in our libraries system, then that's an easy text message. World Smile Day, National Superhero Day, National High Five Day. All those can be just a quick text message if you're trying to find a way to break through the noise to engage with the donor, just right on our phones.
I told you we like that National Day calendar here at Kent State.
Yeah. And it's not applicable to all, but we always say, hey, if it would be meaningful to your donor, here's some out of the box ideas to help.
What's that? You said it's the National Day calendar?
It's in the resources. There's a link. Yeah.
Okay.
And you'll be surprised. There are so many national days.
Oh, I know.
There's something for everyone. I mean, really.
So we'll share this when we're done with the conversation, but we have the National Day calendar right there. It's nationaldaycalendar.com. I think any way we can engage our donors outside of that receipt. So thinking of the 7 touches is very important, and always donor centric. If anybody, we included in our resources, Penelope Burke's, she has a great book, but she also has a great website with a lot of great resources on there as well.
And I would also mention the donor relations group link on there for Lynn Wester's team. If you're not signed up already to get their weekly newsletter, I think it is blog post, Alicia and I are always finding really great nuggets in there. Lots of our 7 tips for writing great thank you notes came from one of those blog posts. But there's lots of really creative ideas in there. She'll share her and her team will share unique ways to say thank you and kind of like a new take on a standard stewardship touch. And so we get a lot of really good nuggets. So if you're looking to dedicate a day to come up with some new ideas, that comes out, I think, every Friday, and there's usually some good nuggets in there.
And they do some free, she does some free webinars. You can get on and follow her on all the social media platforms, but I follow her on LinkedIn, and she'll post some videos and sometimes just some quick free webinars that are really great. She's the donor relations guru, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. She's a big personality, so she's entertaining. And the other great thing is she has a huge network, and they have free sample libraries. So if you're looking to refresh acknowledgement letters, it is a great place to go to see, some new examples to get your thoughts started.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any hands raised. Any challenges in your shops that you're having that you'd like to share? Maybe somebody here can help. Okay. Well, I want to say thank you all for being here today, and especially to our guest panelists from Kent State University, Alicia Gaffney and Samantha Zink, for joining us and sharing their great expertise and creative ideas. We hope you will join us for our upcoming professional development next month on June 20th. We will be at the Massillon Museum, and we will be learning about creating some compelling videos. We're excited for that one with our guest, Sarah Shookman. On July 18th, we'll be learning about how to get the best out of your board. We'll be back at the Shaw JCC in person. And on August 15th, we'll be back on Teams for our virtual Lunch and Learn, learning how to make AI your friend in fundraising. Today's professional development is just one of the benefits to our AFP Northeast Ohio members. You can find more information on how to become a member and to register for our future PD at www.afpneo.org. Again, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you on June 20.